Okay, good day and welcome back to the next video in my open source software for chess series. I'm going to look at Scid versus PC again, so I highly recommend that you watch the earlier video on Scid versus PC so you understand the process. Yeah, we're using Linux. We've downloaded Scid versus PC and we can build it ourselves because we have the source code. Now, this is the first video where I'm really going to get into the process of hacking into the code and making changes, which is, the whole reason I made a fuss about doing that, because then you can do your own tweaks or improvements or just, cosmetic changes to software, which if you don't have the source code, you would not be able to do. Now, Scid versus PC, it originally came from SourceForge. If you did the download process, there are people who've then sort of reverse uploaded it to Git, and it shows that Scid versus PC is 45% TCL or tickle. We'll get onto that, and 12% C++. So, to be honest, tickle, we'll call it that from now on. Apparently, that's what there's a video by Computer File interviewing Brian Kernighan and doyen of Unix programming and so on, and tickle. So tickle's the name we go with. Now, it's an unusual scripting language. It's really about widgets on the screen and drawing them and the screen interactions, or at least that's the way it's used in Scid versus PC. So you just have to get used to the syntax. I mean, if you're programmed in C, C++, Java, Python, these sorts of things, you kind of get the hang of it by looking at the code. And which is what I'm going to do today. I'll sort of show you sort of the baby steps in terms of making changes to it, and then you can go and do your own stuff. So what I'll do now is I'll go to my capture screen. Let's have a look. It's going to be a bit cluttered today because there's kind of a few different steps I want to show you through. Now, what I'll do first is I'll just fire up Scid versus PC. Now, this is my version of Scid, so I just want to give you an idea of some of the little changes I have made to the software. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that if you do Shift select a square, which is one of the basic ones, it now does this sort of more chess-based, I think it is, type of highlighting the square rather than the solid color. So that's one change I made. You can do different colors of it. Arrows are the same, no issues there. Highlighting diagonals like that, using different keystrokes, or sort of indicate how that's done. And then also you've got highlighting files and ranks, and then the other one is night moves, right? And also I'm doing some endgame stuff like key square. So to give an idea of, that's little basic cosmetic changes I've been able to make. You might like doing your own, or at least having a go at different changes like that. Okay, so let's have a look at how that all works. So what I'm going to do first is we'll just get up, find it behind here. So here's SourceForge. The Scid, original Scid source code. We'll go to downloads. You go to the latest code is available from Subversion, and what you do is you'll notice there's a number of directories here. Now, most of the code you're going to be looking at here is the TCL, right? You go into the TCL directory, and you can see there's a number of there's also directories, a number of files down here. The ones I've almost exclusively looked at is two of them. End, which has a lot of the code for interactions with the screen and handling the key presses and so on. And the other one is board, which is where a lot of the actual drawing code is done, right? So I've opened up here end.tcl, and I've gone to this section here, which is the section which, using TCL's kind of unique scripting language, is how the bindings between key presses is done, right? So you can see for each of the squares, I have the 0 up to 63. If you press enter, enter square. If you press leave, leave square. That's the standard ones. And button press, press square, we'll sort of go into how that works in a bit, and control button press and shift button press. So these are all sort of standard things you do with your mouse, right? Now control button press, just make that a little bit wider so you can see what it's doing. it's actually giving the instruction to draw an arrow. So it calls draw arrow procedure down below, and basically puts in the PGN comment to draw an arrow. Let me just sort of, here's a PGN of a program. This has got other things in arrows, but it shows you what Scid does. It actually saves these drawing instructions in the PGN, which it then uses to draw as it's rendering the game board. So you can see here you've got control button press 1 is drawing an arrow. That's where you click one square with the button press, go another square, click again, and the arrow will be drawn. It's different. I think ChessBase is using click and drag, whereas this is you click twice, and then shift button press is where you add the marker, which I just showed you earlier, right? That's the original TCL code in SourceForge. Just get out of the way, and we'll bring up. So here is my same section of code, which I've modified, right? Same thing for each of the squares. You're binding these commands to each of the squares. I haven't touched the top bit, but then what I've done is if you do control button press using the left button, control, say button press 1, it draws a green arrow. If you press the red from pressing the right mouse button, and then if you press the middle button, if you have one, then it uses the sort of the standard color which you can set up in Scid, which is orange in my case. But one issue I'm going to make is you make changes like this. It may not work on all of platforms, as it were. I had to actually change my mouse to make this work. My other mouse had a middle button, but it must not have been sending the same signal. So bear in mind that it may not work cross-platform. But you know, if you're doing something just for yourself, well, neither here nor there. Once again, shift left button press, add marker green, shift right button press red, and orange in the middle. And then this is where those other little ones I've done. I've used the alt wasn't used in the original coding, and this is where I've written code lower down, add left diagonal, add both diagonals, add right diagonals, depending on which mouse button was pressed, and then control alt. Yeah, so the combinations work as well. And that's where I add the files and the ranks and the add night. So what we're going to do is just quickly have a look at add night. All right, just to show you. So it calls add night and it passes in the square. Right. Yeah, here we go. So here's the sort of code you deal with. Now, don't laugh. I'm not I'm not a TCL expert by any means. So basically, I just had to sort of loop around, work out which squares the knight could move to, make sure those squares are valid moves, basically. And then once you've done all that, so you've got the from square where the knight is and the to square where it's moving to, and then you can see down here I've got arrow, and basically I draw an arrow from square to square using a color I picked. I think I picked blue. Now I think the thing to point out here is that you'll see this a lot in here, all this regular expression matching in TCL. And the idea is that basically if you mark a square, it checks to see if the square is marked already. And if it is marked already, then it deletes that before it puts in a new comment. And basically just makes a comment and then puts the comment on the PGN, and away you go. Now, so what I thought about, though, if we just go back to here for one moment. So you can see I found this. Maybe I'll move something just to get rid of the... I've actually found, or second thoughts, one of the early things I do about this. It's a bit not very nice. Maybe I need to change the color. So I'll just show you. I did this before, just sort of so it will work well. So other than drawing an arrow, because dollar's type you can see set, but I actually change it to full. That's the one I want, right? So rather than adding an arrow, I'll add a box. That might look nicer. So these are the sort of things to play around. So we'll save that. And remember that in the directory above is do make, and there it is. And then we shall close Scid, and then we shall run it again. And let's just see if that's worked. Control Alt button. Right. Okay. So it's different now. It's showing the square, right? Of the moves that the knight can make. So yeah. Maybe you prefer that. Maybe you prefer something like that, right? So that's what you find in end.tcl. What I've done is you can change key bindings. And the other one I just want to quickly have a look at is board.tcl. Yeah, what you'll notice is when I did the arrows, like that one, the arrow for the rank. Can you see that? It's quite small, but what you'll notice is that there's this draw spear. Right now, spear is not one of the normal comments which Scid uses, but I've added it. Right, so now you have a draw spear, and you can see all spear does. I copied it from draw arrow. That's all it is. You look at the way it works when you're drawing something. Path name's where you're drawing it, and then the from square to square and color. That if you just look down here, I've basically just I've copied the draw arrow code and put a arrow on both ends. So you can see, I think that's all I really want to mention today in terms of the way that you can, if you've got the open source software, this is the whole point of this series of videos, you can then start fiddling around with yourself. Now this is a very simple one. I've just changed some of the cosmetics of Scid versus PC. My version is no better than the original version, and after all, it's what you can do, what you can come up with. Okay, so that is enough on that, Scid versus PC and Tickle. Thank you for watching.